Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are here sharing their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, where we help businesses scale through outside-the-box visibility and automation strategies. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. So glad to have you here. And I got to tell you, you all are in for a real treat today because not only is this a follow-up from a podcast that we had last year with Mr. Ted Beringer, but he has brought along his sons. So I get to talk with all three of these incredible gentlemen today with the Beringer Group. So without further ado, welcome Ted Beringer, Chris Beringer, and Eric Beringer to the podcast.
Thank you, Heidi. Nice to see you again.
It's great to see you. So can each of you share with us a little bit about yourselves? We know you're with the Beringer Group, but you're in your role within the company.
Yeah, so I'm Ted Beringer. I founded this company 45 years ago, and I'm lucky enough to have four great sons, all of whom have some connection with the Beringer Group. So we're a true family business, have been there for all these years, and we work with family businesses.
My name is Chris Beringer, the president of the Beringer Group. I started in 2002 after working at AIG for a few years. I mostly help our family office clients and business owner clients maximize their financial objectives while minimizing family conflict.
I'm Eric Beringer. The last 16 years, I've been competing as a professional golfer on various PGA Tour, mini tours, PGA Tour Latin America, China, Canada, and competed all over the world. And simultaneously, I was working with the Beringer Group in their client relationship management department, playing a lot of golf and getting to know clients on a personal basis. And last year, I retired from playing professional golf, and I've moved more into a marketing role, working alongside Delaney George and others at the Beringer Group to try and add a fresh take on our marketing schemes. So.
Amazing. Well, thank you for each of you for sharing about yourselves and your role. And Ted, you had shared with me last year your love of golf. I see that it's expanded to your sons.
We are a golfing family.
That's awesome. I'm in Florida too, guys. So I played golf in high school, but don't ask me to play now because I can't play worth anything. But anyway, let's continue. Ted, as I mentioned, we had the privilege of having you on the show last year and excited to have Chris and Eric joining us. How has the Beringer Group evolved since last year with our interview, and what excites you the most about where your business is heading today?
Well, I'll tell you that it's a very interesting time right now. The stock market's at an all-time high. Private equity is out there making huge offers to buy businesses. That all sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't work. And the estate tax laws never get better. And so the result of that is we have been extremely busy. And lately, probably the busiest thing that's kept us going on recent assignments is family conflict, where uncles, brothers, cousins are not getting along, trying to figure out how to work together in a family business. And what does that mean for the future and the ultimate survival of that company? So that's involved in us a lot of really good assignments the last few months.
And I'm sure that helps, with you supporting them, you being a family business yourself, working with your sons and able to help them navigate, the intricacies of the infighting that could happen in some of these businesses. So that I'm sure that makes you stand out compared to other companies that they could work with.
It's a big benefit to be able to see things the way the business owner sees it, with exactly the same issues that he faces, we've faced over all these years, including having sold our business, restarted our business. So it makes us a very viable option to pursue options for the business owner.
Yeah. Chris and Eric, what has it been like for you joining and growing the company alongside your father? And how do your perspectives complement each other?
Heidi, I think it's been an amazing journey. I would suggest that my 4 years at AIG prior to joining the family business was invaluable, less so from what they taught me and more so what it's like to operate in a corporate environment. I would suggest second generation family member take a job somewhere else, even if the ultimate plan is to work within the family business. I think you'll come in a lot more prepared and a lot more disciplined, just learning structure and whatnot.
Mm.
From my perspective, it's been really interesting going from a surface level position where I just got to know these clients on a personal level, not discussing business very much, to moving to in office where I get to see all of the real hard work that goes into us maximizing those financial objectives while minimizing family conflict, and seeing the hard work that my brother and father have put into being a fiduciary, to where our main goal is working with these clients to make sure that we only try to achieve what they're looking for. You know, we work on the keep side and the sell side. So that means we have no skin in the game. So our biggest thing is that we just want to make sure we know exactly what the client's goals are and we can work towards that. And seeing the hard work that goes into that has given me a new respect for what my brother and father have built.
Mm. Thank you both for sharing that. It's really awesome. And I'm grateful to have all of you here sharing your different perspectives and what you're doing. So for listeners hearing about your company for the first time, what does the Beringer Group do and who are the ideal clients you serve?
For over 45 years, yeah, we trademarked maximize financial objectives while minimizing family conflict. So we, uh, we repeat it a lot, but effectively over the past 45 years, that's what we've helped some of the great families in America do. As Ted suggested, we're working for a few families that have some conflict now. That is the most detrimental path to the future of the business. When you have brothers and sisters, parents and children, cousins, uncles, nephews, when there's family strife, there's often no path forward without getting past those conflicts and issues. So, we're not psychologists. We're not going to go and solve the deep-seated issues that occurred 25, 30 years in family. But, we map out, what are the most appropriate financial objectives and meet it where you can minimize the family conflict. Wealth, the idea is supposed to be something that brings families together and is to be enjoyed. It's not to be an albatross around your neck as a massive problem. I mean, you see every business, they focus on marketing, they focus on sales, they focus on finance, HR, they have all these different departments. And what we find is often within these family businesses, they spend no time on governance. They might not even have an advisory board. And, to really get those controls around how a family business is operating, it depends on your goal. If your objective is we want to get liquid and sell in the next 3 to 5 years and not be active, maybe it's a little less important. But if you want your company and your enterprise to survive for 100+ years, governance is massively important. And we do. We have a company that goes back to the formation at the Civil War. So, it's certainly possible to have companies that can be successful for 150+ years. But if you're not looking at governance as a serious part of the company, as finance, there's no way it's going to happen.
One of your signature tools is the Keep, Sell, Grow business analysis. Can you explain what that process is and why it's so important for business owners who want to maximize long-term value?
We have many, many business owners that really aren't sure what they're going to do with their company. Picture an entrepreneur who's 72 years old, loves what he does, maybe has an active child in the business whose heart isn't in it, but is there, and doesn't really know what to do with the company. Does he want to keep it or sell it? And obviously, always you need to grow your company. If you're not growing the business, the keep or sell tend to be worse outcomes. So, always we need to help people focus. But oftentimes, a business owner might not be aware of what all of their options are. They might not know that if they're 72 and they had children a little bit later, and they have a child in the company that's 30, 35 that they don't think that's quite ready. Maybe you could bring in an outside management group as a bridge. They haven't necessarily done a study to see if ESOP is possible. They might not have looked at a leverage recap. So within that keep sell matrix, Heidi, there's probably 1,000 things a family member could do or family business could do. Our goal is to narrow it down to the 5 to 7 most logical paths forward for the company, and then work with the the founder of the business or whoever the parent CEO, chairman of the business is, to find the appropriate path going forward.
So when business owners go through this keep, sell, grow analysis, what are some of the biggest blind spots or surprises they discover about their companies?
Well, certainly not necessarily, blind spots, but oftentimes we get into a business and it's clear to everyone, including the business owner, that the next generation isn't prepared to take over the business. They may not need to admit that, but they usually know, and they need an outside force to tell them you're not doing anybody any favors, allowing this to occur. Second, industry right now, Heidi, is completely changing. AI is going to be a massive force on everything. To do a study and feasibility, what's your business even going to look like in 15 years? Can it be operating in the same way? Software, that's a lot of the private credit problems that you're seeing right now are fully related to the software industry. I was talking to a gentleman that 7 years ago spent a year and a half and $1 million creating a dashboard. He said with the use of, I believe it was Claude as the AI engine, he said he replicated that a year and a half $1 million investment. He was able to achieve everything that they did within 48 hours. So, things are rapidly changing. And if, folks aren't understanding how technology and industry is changing, their business, they might have to sell. And when they realize that you have very, very serious risks, maybe sell the correct way with which to move. And I think every business owner needs to be aware of changing industry dynamics.
And another thing you talk about in tool you have is the fire drill. When I know we talked about this last year and I was intrigued by it. So what is the fire drill exercise and why should every business owner be thinking about it before they actually need it?
I'll take that one, Heidi. The fire drill is something every business owner we talk to always has done some planning. They check the box, right? They make sure they've got a lawyer, they've got a will, they check the box, they know what's going to happen on their estate plan, and then they put it aside. And they generally haven't looked at it in a while, and things have changed. And most business owners that are my age will tell you how fast time goes by. Oh, really? I did that will 5 years ago? It seems like it was 2 years ago. And so the fire drill really takes an intensive look at their entire strategic and succession plan as to what that business looks like, both now and going forward for several years. And in the fire drill, we'll identify what happened if the owner got hit by a bus and wasn't there. Does this work or not? And are there kids in the business that are ready to come up? They're not ready. Is there a management team in place to handle it? Should the business be sold at that point, which would be probably at a much lesser value because the owner is often very important to it? So by the end of the fire drill, we've identified 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 major flaws in the plan that they currently have. And the job is to fix them as best we can. And obviously, you can't fix everything perfectly. But in our mind, no plan is a plan. And so that particular simple statement, the business owner gets their attention. And the answer is you've got to have a contingency plan. You've got to have a structure thought through. And it's not final. It doesn't mean you have to end up there, but it means be ready both now and for the future and how this is going to look. And why are you growing this and what are you doing this for? And the other thing the fire drill identifies is businesses are up and down, and most business owners do not have a separate asset base of liquid assets that if the business couldn't afford to generate their lifestyle for 3 years because of a downturn, they don't have the dollars available. So the fire drill identifies that and says you need to work on building a separate asset base. So it's items like that that oftentimes you're so focused on the day-to-day growing your business, you forget the little things for yourself and your family that are so critical. Our job is to make sure you check that and check that box and complete.
Yeah, I love.
Go ahead, Heidi. I was just going to add to that. We use an analogy that was really helpful to me to understand that process. And we discuss it like if you go to a standard doctor visit and you walk in and the doctor diagnoses something very serious. Not one of our prospective clients has ever come in and gone through the fire drill process. The best case scenario, we go through everything. We say, hey, everything looks great. there's nowhere we can add any value here. But if we're able to diagnose something that's a lot more serious, every single person is always left with, that very happy that they chose to go through this process with us.
Yeah, I'm sure it's huge ahas for a lot of companies. They think that they're going to come out with a 100% score, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, we've got this gap or this leak or this area that we can strengthen for sure."
Exactly.
And when I heard this last year, when you, Ted, were sharing it with me and with our audience last year, I was intrigued by it. And I immediately thought, and I know you work with a certain level type of business and family businesses, but I was like, every business should be having something like this implemented inside of that they should be running yearly, if not every so often, is to make sure that they're prepared for these types of things that could happen. Because I think most companies don't prepare for that, and then they are caught off guard and they don't have the funds set aside to support them. We saw this happen during COVID. It was a big eye opener for a lot of companies. It took them down, took them out, and they weren't able to sustain, or they had to let people go in order to sustain. So I love what you're doing. I think that's why I said, and I'll say it again, I was very intrigued by this, and I think everybody should do it. And I love that you're doing it for your clients, and I can just imagine the ahas that they get. So a lot of business owners are deeply tied to their business, speaking of operationally and financially. What risks do business owners underestimate where they don't proactively prepare for succession, transition, or unexpected events?
I would think, Heidi, that most business owners that we work with love their job and, they're making enough income that retirement to them is the difference between renting that house in Palm Springs and buying it. When you're making over seven figures, there's really no limitation. But moving a business that's going to deteriorate into the next generation will substantially change the amount of funds that will be available for your children or for philanthropic endeavors. So if a business deteriorates, you hold on to it too long, and you don't liquidate it at the right point, it's not going to impact you as Mr. Owner. It's going to impact everybody around you. And I think that's often underestimated. They all love what they do. They've been doing it for 50, 60 years. You tell them that they should retire, they look at you like you have two heads. So, but if the consequence of not retiring and having inadequate succession behind you, or just an industry that's reverting, could be catastrophic to your family and your philanthropic goals going out 25, 50 years.
Hmm.
But public
So,
companies don't allow that, Heidi. Public companies have a succession plan. They have a board of directors who mandate it. But when you're a business owner, you don't think about that. You still think of yourself as 40 years old. You're not worried about the future. You love coming in every day, and there's nothing else you do. You play all the golf you could want to play, and you go on vacations and you do plenty. So you're not thinking that way. And in the end, you also haven't evaluated the next level of management if you weren't there. You really haven't. You haven't thought that through. Does this really work if I'm not there? Is this person capable? Or is my son capable? Or sons or daughters capable of coming in and assuming my role? And they need an outside third party to kind of look at that and say, you haven't trained them well enough yet. You need to take them out more to meet more customers. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to get them to understand the manufacturing process. You haven't trained them in that. And, we all think as a business owner, myself included, we have forever. We'll get there. Well, none of us have. There's no lease on life. So we really have to do some forethought on the succession process.
yeah. And as you're sharing this, I'm thinking as a mom, I have teenagers, and I'm just like relating it to that. It's like this is their baby for 50, 60 years, right? And now like you were saying, Chris, they love what they do. They come in every day, they do their things, they still have the time to have fun and enjoy life. And as people, we're not programmed to like change. And again, this is their baby. Like my kids are going to be heading off to college soon, and it's going to be really hard to let them go. When they get married, I'll be like, wait a minute, you're going to someone else? So I can completely see, I mean, it's completely different. And also similar in the fact that this is their baby. It's hard to hand it off, even if it's to a family member. And it's true, there's a lot at stake. They need to make sure that the people that they're handing it off to can take care of it, right? and they want to feel confident that they can take care of it as well, or if not better. And sometimes they're, the next generation can do different things and they have different ideas. So as far as, let's talk about transferability. What separates business that are highly transferable and scalable from businesses that are overly dependent on the founder?
I think no business is scalable if it's so that dependent on the founder.
Mm-hmm.
And the good business owner gets that out there that that doesn't happen. But in the end, you still have a CEO, right? But the difference is that as you expand the business and the product line, the ones that are going to be at a high level of fast growth are going to really have that thought process of that I would need. And that's why it's keep, sell, and grow, right? Because either keep or sell, it doesn't matter if you're not growing. So part of the process and part of the fire drill is what are you doing to grow the business? Because if you don't grow it, you stagnate it. And I can tell you there are fifth generation companies that are doing the same revenue today they were doing 20 years ago. And with AI and all the changes, if they don't get a new identity, they're not going to be here in 20 years. And those are the issues that have to be dealt with now, because when you really realize it, it's too late to fix it.
And one of the things that we advise most companies to do, Heidi, is to create an advisory board. So not anything as formal as an oversight board, but a board of advisors that you discipline yourself that at least twice a year you present your financials and your information to them as if you were a public company. So it makes you accountable. So you're forced to prepare for this. You're forced to see things. You're forced to forecast out for the next 3 to 5 years. You're forced to have clean financials, all of those things. And then the other side benefit is, usually you pay these people $5,000, $10,000 a year, some nominal number. But if you have a good legal expert and a good accounting expert, a good industry expert, just really, really smart people, you tend to get their advice for a lot cheaper than if you went out and you solicited it directly for their fees. So it's really a strong tool that we think most businesses should go down that path and form a really, really solid advisory board.
So I thought our marketing was in great shape. And then Eric comes in and he ran basically a fire drill on our marketing. And we've now moved that exponentially. So Eric, talk about that a little bit, because the truth is, I wouldn't see it. I didn't see that I thought we had it all covered. So talk about some of the things you're doing, Eric, that are different than we were doing before from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, just to my dad's point in terms of growth, and going back to what Chris was talking about earlier with AI and all of those things, as a professional golfer, a big part of my job was marketing myself and branding myself as someone companies would want to work with, and other ways to bring in revenue outside of just my performance on the golf course. And coming into the Beringer Group and realizing how fast technology is moving, and the opportunities that we have to market, as you said, Heidi, a business where we're offering something that almost every business could benefit from. So, adding my expertise in terms of social media and working alongside my brother Jeffrey, who created our website to expand on our SEO and things like that, have been things that we've been moving towards so that we grow along with technology.
Well, I have to say, we did notice your social media shift. So now I know who's behind it. So congratulations on that. Yeah, it's definitely, it's more active for sure. And it's looking really good. So congratulations, Eric.
Thank you.
So how do each of you think differently about growth, leadership, and the future of business compared to previous generations of owners?
Well, I would suggest, Heidi, it really depends on what your goal is. If you're planning to sell your company in 5 to 7 years, you need to have a completely different mindset than if your objective is to create a 100-year enterprise. So, are we just trying to maximize revenue and growth and make a bunch of acquisitions to sell something at a much bigger number? Or are we trying to create something sustainable? And, even, say you developed a fantastic product, you have to constantly be reinventing yourself if you're looking to be a 100-year business, simply for the fact that patents run off. So, how you want to structure things from a governance stewardship, orderly succession. It really, I would think that the question is, what are your goals for the company? Should be answered first.
So I'm curious about visibility and marketing. We touched on marketing a little bit, and Eric, I know you're doing social media and you're working on SEO. What are the ways that you all have? What are the things that you're doing to get visible or get in front of your ideal clients? Because I know you have a certain target market. So what are the things that have worked for you marketing wise in the past, visibility wise? And then on the flip side of that, what are some of the things maybe that you tried that weren't as effective as you had hoped?
Well, we're definitely taking on more opportunities like we are today, speaking with you, Heidi, and shifting into a more wide range area of social media. We're striving to reach people on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram, and things that my father and my brother have been working so diligently to be there for the client that, you know, I've been out there and I've been participating in the modern day marketing, and people are able to obtain information so quickly. And also attention spans are definitely getting shorter. So, our marketing in the past has been longer form social media content, and we're now trying to drive into the short form social media to capture those people quickly and maybe say something that really strikes them so that they sit down with us.
And our
Amazing.
client, Heidi, is the manufacturing or distribution business in middle America that has an enterprise value of 20 million to 500 million. I would think in the past, there's the term guerrilla marketing that one of my clients used to then just go out hunt and you bring back home whatever you can get. And whether that would be phone calls, doing articles, talking to organizations, whatever it might be was how I would approach it without having any strategic thought behind to do that. I was just a guerrilla, right? Just going out there. And I think what Eric is providing is putting a lot of strategy and thought behind very cohesive marketing campaigns.
Mm. So I have a question for you is around challenges, because the Beringer Group has been around for a long time. So you've gone through your ups and downs, your growth. You've seen a lot of things over the years. What have been some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I think that one of the biggest challenges is business owners don't even know what their options are on succession and transferring the business. And so they're bombarded by cold calls, by emails, by people out there that want to sell their company. There are people on the radio every day talking about, I sell plumbing distributors and wholesale distributors, and I do this, and we can do this for you. And most of the people out there have an agenda to get the person to do that. So the business owner shuts off the noise and doesn't take it. And, if you look at the wall behind me, those are just some of the tombstones of companies that we've sold over the years. We don't go in with the idea we're selling the business. We go in with a strategic look, and the business owner suddenly gets his eyes open to, I don't want to be the last buggy whip company, right? I've got to get ahead of the curve. So what Chris said is so critical. If you're going to be a 100-year business, you're not going to be a 100-year business on the same product line and everything you're doing and without making changes and adjustments. And if you're worried about the future for your family, you need to look at liquidity options that may not require you to sell the entire business. It may allow you to sell a third of the business with a partner who doesn't even have the opportunity to buy the balance, and you get liquidity out and can still own the company. Nobody realizes that option's available today. So not knowing your options, you don't think through strategically what I'm doing. So you got to start with, what is my goal? I have the tools with the kids, the management team. What happens if your management team's the same age as you? Now what? And what does the kid runs into that comes in from the outside, gets out of college, gets his master's degree and works there for 2 years, and then your management team retires and dad has medical issues that he can't continue. Now what? So thinking through all these opportunities and options that are out there is really critical, and getting liquidity one way or another, whether it's a sale, whether it's a partial sale, whether there's some other recap that you do, or bringing in an outside partner to give you some dollars, maybe that secures the future of the business without giving up control. Did you even know you had that option? Probably not. So our goal is to assure that the business owner knows all the options, and where there are weaknesses, Make that a major priority, not a check the box priority.
Yeah, and I can think of some industries off the top of my head that I'm like, okay, how long are they going to be able to sustain this model with the evolution of the internet, with everybody wanting to get things faster and simpler, easier? You know, what we used to do, spend hours doing to make a purchase, isn't the same way that we're doing things now. So some of these industries need, I agree with you. It's time to take a look and go, what changes do we need to make and how do we need to make them? Is a sale an option? Is a partial sale an option? Or is there a different avenue we need to take? So if that's you that you're listening and you're like, I might be one of those industries, we're going to let you know how to reach the Beringer Group shortly. Chris, were you going to say something?
Well, first we should put you on the payroll as a spokesperson for us, because the way that you said that was quite well, Heidi. Just back to your other question about our growth and our future. I'm a little afraid that we're going to be a victim of our own success in the sense that right now we're 23 people, and I fear when you get to over 30 people, and Ted can speak to this. We were a national company at one point. You're speaking to the heads of a department, not just Jim up the hallway, right? And right now I like that we're nimble and small, and the more businesses and families that need our help, the more hires we're going to have to make. So right now I'm loving life and enjoying it, and I am a little concerned of when we get too successful, that I think 30 is really a number that I would like to keep us under, but who knows? Hopefully 2 years from now, you're talking to us and we're 28 people, and not 45. But if we get over that, maybe it's a challenge I handle, and it's not going to be the issue that I think it is. But I am a little concerned that the heart of the organization will change a little bit if we grow and expand too quickly.
So Eric needs to slow down.
That's not what I was brought in for, Heidi.
I know. Okay, so a couple more questions. So I'm respectful of your time, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time today and you being here. So thank you. And I'll say that again multiple times. But quick question for you, as far as if I could hand you a magic wand and you can wave it over one challenge or issue that you're dealing with right now and go poof, take it away, it disappears. What would that challenge or issue be and why?
My magic wand is very simple. Let us take a look. People are so certain that they've checked that box that it's hard to penetrate that, because they've got barraged by all these outside opportunities, and they just keep saying no, 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 because they could be working on projects 1,000 times. My email is filled with requests to do certain things, and I'm sure that's the same with all of our clients. So my magic wand is, if the Beringer Group calls you, let us take a look, and we'll do that on our nickel. And if we don't find anything, isn't that wonderful? You'll feel better and we won't feel bad. But if we find something, we'll fix it.
Fantastic. So my last question, gentlemen, do you have anything to add? I want to make sure everybody gets to.
Well, that was a good one.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Harry Potter.
So we'll close on this. For business owners listening today, what's the first thing they should evaluate if they want to grow enterprise value, reduce risk, and build a business that can thrive long term?
Well, I'll go first, Heidi. I just thank you so much for taking the time today, and I think you have a very, very good understanding of what we do, and this has been one of the more enjoyable podcasts from my side of the table. Onto the specific question, I really think it's a matter of, what are you growing the business for? What's your timeline? Are you running it for stewardship to try to get it to the next generation? Or are you trying to maximize value? I think depending on if you're looking at 5, 10, 15, or 50 years, the answer is going to be drastically different and the priorities will be drastically different. So, really having an understanding, no, industries are going to have complete overhauls. Kodak was one of the great companies when the iPhone came, and there's just realities. But how you would build your company, I think would first be contingent on, what do you want your company to be in these different.
Well, now I'm going to invite you to share with us and for our listeners and for those people that are like, okay, I've heard, I want to reach out. How do I connect with these gentlemen? How can they reach out to you and learn more about the Beringer Group?
You can email us at connect@theberingergroup.com, and we will, gain a little bit of information about your company. And, we live in a world of trust, and most people who run these great successful businesses, while having someone come in, could seem to affect their ego or things like that. We are truly an independent review, and we go into it with solely the purpose of, as we said in the fire drill, trying to find what it is your goals are and also find any leaks that there may be. So, to see that we work as a family business, my other two brothers also work in the company, and to go through that together is something unique. And to have that sole purpose of being there for the client is also unique in this industry. So we would love for you guys to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to help you in any way that we can.
Beautiful. So if you're watching us right now on YouTube, Ted, Chris, and Eric and I say hello. Thank you for being here with us. And if you know of anybody that would benefit from this conversation with these three gentlemen and the Beringer Group, please share this with them. This is how we're supporting them for being here and spending time, them sharing their expertise and wisdom, and also what's working for them marketing and visibility wise and what hasn't worked for them to support you in your growth. So we would love the support on sharing this to anybody that you know or think would benefit from learning more about them. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, thank you. If you're so inclined and can leave a review, we would love that. That helps the podcast platform know that, you know what, people like this episode and they'll share it to more people. And if you know of anybody that would benefit from this conversation, please send this podcast interview along to them. We would be greatly appreciative. Gentlemen, before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to say or share that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't talk about today?
The only thing I would share, Heidi, is that whatever they're thinking, I thought. I've been doing this as a business owner with my family in the business. It's been the greatest pleasure of my life. And so my goal has always been to preserve it, and I have done that. So everything we talked about that they should be doing, we've done. Our business is owned by the family, not by me. So we're not going to worry about estate taxes, which we view as a voluntary tax. You shouldn't have to pay it if you do your planning right. If you do the look things, if you think about us, we think exactly like you do. We've got the same issues you have, and we've solved them for ourselves first. And now we want to solve them for anybody that wants our help. So anxious to talk to you. Go on our website. You'll see who we are better. And thank you for listening.
Amazing. Mic drop. No better way to end than there. So go to theberingergroup.com, go learn more about them, go get that fire drill. This is to support you. You have a successful business because you've done things right. And there could be things that they can support you on to make sure that when you're ready to make that transition, that it's smooth, done smoothly, and it saves you estate taxes and all those good things. The money should go to your family's pocket, your pocket, not the government's pocket, right? Okay. So go to theberingergroup.com, go get to know them. Ted, Chris, and Eric, they're doing the fire drill in their own company. They do it. They've done it with their marketing team for, to grow that, to see where the gaps are there, and they're working on it there. So they practice what they preach. There's no better family to go to than the Beringers. Go meet Ted, Chris, and Eric. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time today. I'm extremely grateful. Ted, I always love our conversations. It's great to see you again. Chris and Eric, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and hopefully we can bring you back in a year and see what's going on then.
Thanks for having us, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening to us on the Business Growth Spotlight, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.